Hello my loves, what's up and welcome back to my channel. Welcome to another eyeshadow palette review. We're going to talk Artist Couture today and the Supreme Bronze eyeshadow palette. So if you're interested in seeing swatches on my skin tone, a deeper skin tone, demo, final thoughts, like so much to talk about as usual, then just please keep on watching. Okay guys, let's jump right into this really quick. I will, as usual, leave the link to this product down in the description box below. If you choose to use that link, it helps my channel out so much. It is an affiliate link, but it'll take you right to the product itself. As usual, also, if you don't mind giving this video a thumbs up, it helps me in more ways than I can even tell you, and I truly appreciate it. If you're new, I hope you'll consider subscribing. I'd love to see you again here on this channel. I'd love for you to be part of this YouTube family. And with that, let's go ahead and start talking about this eyeshadow palette. So Artist Couture released a Supreme Bronze palette. So you remember that last year they released the Supreme Nudes. And it had been a while since they released a larger palette. They've been doing like the smaller ones. Last summer they did I think it was the Caliente palette. I love that palette, even though the formula leaves so much to be desired. And then this year, I forget what it's even called, but it's the turquoise or the aqua looking palette. And I picked that one up as well. Again, formula is all right. Anyways, but I do love those palettes. So they finally released a bigger one in their whole, apparently, neutral lineup. So I did pick mine up at Sephora. It was $42 for reference. It does come with 12 shades. It has a 12-month shelf life, which for a while I was seeing a lot of palettes have like an 18-month shelf life. So it looks like a lot of them now are going back to the 12 months. And it is bulk made in USA, assembled in Dominican Republic. I will also let you know that this is a press pigment and eyeshadow palette. So you've got a mix of the two, but there's no brights aside from an orange shade. And I don't see anything that says, you know, that it's not eye safe. I use them anyways, even when it says they're not eye safe. So that's what we've got there. As far as the packaging, it looks exactly like Supreme Nudes, except for the lettering is like in a bronzy gold type of shade. And then here it is a legit nude type of lettering. So that's the packaging. I actually like this packaging very much. I think it looks sleek. It's simple, but pretty and elegant. There's something about it that just really draws me in. I'm a packaging type of girl. On the back, there's just a sticker that has all of the ingredients, where it's made, all of that good stuff. Nothing out of the ordinary there. So opening this bad boy up, there is a mirror. It looks exactly like its predecessor. For reference, in fact, this one I haven't even taken the little thingy off of the mirror. I just left it there. But anyways, so it looks exactly like its predecessor, which is kind of nice. And then on the inside, there are 12 shades. So for reference, I can't remember 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mattes and the rest of them. So you've got kind of like a nice little split down the middle of 6 mattes. And then I think if I remember right, it's 3 metallics and 3 kind of high dimension pearl type of shades. Anyways, they're all metallics to me, whatever. Anyways, so we'll go over those here in a second, but that's what we've got. You do have a black shade, which a lot of people look for in an eyeshadow palette just for liner, smokiness, that kind of thing. Black shades freak me out a little bit because they can make a look go south so quickly. So it's not something that's ever, like if it's not included, I'm like, oh, no, it's okay. Anyways, so we're gonna use it today, ironically. So let me grab you some swatches. We're gonna look and see how these look on me, how these look on a deeper skin tone. Hopefully that helps you out in deciding whether the tones are right for you, and then we will go into the demo right after that. Row number 1 is Mirage, Taupeless, Glisten, and Shady. Row number 2, Sand, HBIC, Gilded, and Tantalize. Last row is Sunkissed, Toasty, Soleil, and Baked. And I would dare say that Soleil is probably the reason, if people are picking this up, that they are picking it up, because that one really does stand out. Very yellow gold. So those are the swatches right there. Those are what these bad boys look like. Now, let's go ahead and start putting this on my eyes so that you can see how I threw this on. You know, I'm hung up in the demo with the fact that I got like a little bit of mascara lines up here on my brow bone. Somehow they were on my brush. Anyways, I'm just putting it out there that I don't think I ever got over it. So that being said, let's go ahead and jump into this demo so that you have an idea of how it performed on me. Let's get started. Starting out with a blending brush and the shade Taupeless, I'm going to place this in my crease. These are very pigmented and a little goes a long way, just a heads up. So I have learned to be intentional with this palette because using a fluffier blending brush and kind of not really having a plan of action causes the pigment to go everywhere. And they're actually a little bit deeper than what you'd expect. I had mascara on this brush, I don't even know how, and now I have mascara lines on my brow, and it's going to drive me batty for the rest of this demo. Going into the shade Shady, this is the black shade, which I typically shy away from because black shades can be very difficult to work with and can make a look go south very, very quickly. So I'm trying to be as gradual as I can with it. And this black shade really is no exception. Now, I did find it somewhat easier to use than some black shades I've used in the past, but still, I have learned to be very gradual with very deep shades like this. Going in with my Fenty Pro Filter eye primer, just going to place this down using my finger. Of course, you already know this, but I do want to mention it in case I have anybody new watching. I use this as a tacky base anytime I'm going to use a metallic or a foiled shade. It just helps it pop so much more. Now, using my finger, I'm going in with the shade Glisten. This is one of the better shades in the palette. It's one of the ones I like more. It is a very cool toned shade. It's funny because this palette is a mix of cool, I'd say more warm tones than cool, but there are a couple of cool tones in here. We're going to play with both. We're going to mix our metals of silver and gold. So now I'm going to go in with a little shader brush and I'm going to place some on there of the same shade, the Glisten shade, and put it in the innermost portion of my lid where I really couldn't reach with my finger, just basically covering the little bald spot on my lid that I left behind. Now going in with Soleil, which I think is the most unique shade of this palette, just going to place that right in the middle where the black matte shade kind of meets that Glisten shade, and then some, of course. It's literally going right in the center of my lid, and this just really pops. It's a very lovely gold shade, I do have to say. And then going in with that same blending brush that I used for the shade Shady and no added product, just blending it all out just so that it doesn't look like I placed down the gold and there's a line right there. Going in with the shade Sunkissed and a very tiny shader brush. And I'm placing this in kind of where I would put a negative space, but I didn't feel like I wanted to take the time to carve it out with concealer. So just placing this kind of in a, almost like an arch. Well, it is an arch because it's right in my crease, very detailed, but this shade pops. This has quite a bit of pigment like most of the other shades in this palette and is very, very easy to use, and it really did come through. So going back in with the shade Taupeless, this is what's going to go all over the lower lash line, even on the outermost portion where we're going to go in with the deepest shade, but just placing this all over to kind of smoke it out and get it to all tie together. So with that same brush, I'm going to go in with the shade Shady, and this is going to go on the outermost portion of my lower lash line. Again, just kind of trying to be careful with placement because it is so pigmented and I'm not looking to make this look a disaster. Going in with some Rare Beauty liner. Just like in my last video, I'm not going to create a wing, I'm not going to do a real thick line or anything. It really is just to make it all cohesive, just so that my lash line isn't looking extra bare and so it kind of just comes together with the lashes. And that being said, lashes and liner and everything else are done. I hope you enjoyed and found this helpful. Alrighty, my friends. Well, I hope you found that at least somewhat helpful. That being said, let's go ahead and run into final thoughts just real quick so that you have an idea of how I am liking or disliking this palette, either way. So packaging, not gonna get into just because I've already mentioned that I really do like the packaging. So let's get into all of the formulas and all of that. So I'm gonna be the first to say that Artist Couture is not my favorite formula. You may be asking, well then why the heck did you buy the palette? I love eyeshadow palettes. I love testing them out. I love trying them out. There's something about palettes that just really draw me in. And unless I am highly turned off by them, usually I pick them up. So the mattes are very dry and sandpapery. However, I will say they're not as bad as their little small counterparts. They're not that dry. They are just very dry and stiff, but it's not like sandpaper, like with those, you legit can hear that when you swipe them with your finger. With these, it's not that bad, but they are very dry. I don't know that it impacts the performance. Usually, you know, I always say a swatch doesn't tell the story. The feel of a shadow doesn't tell the story. They are, because of the shade types, at least this one, I'm going to tell you this black one too, they take time to blend out. They are very, very pigmented. So I have found that I like to use a less fluffy brush because literally they're so pigmented that it'll go all over my brow bone when I'm just trying to do my crease. So I try to go with a smaller blending brush to be a little bit more concentrated, a little bit more intentional in where I'm placing the product. So that being said, that's a perfect opportunity for an orange like this to be stellar, and it's very pigmented. It's really, really lovely. I very much like the orange in this palette, but for the others, I'm like, ooh, I gotta go super careful. And you probably saw that in the demo. So the mattes are okay. They're nothing to write home about. They don't feel the greatest. They don't perform any more stellar than a lot of my favorite eyeshadow palettes. So let's talk about the standout shades, which is my cup of tea. Let me check the time real quick. Okay, so the pewter shade, this bronze shade, and this gold shade, I'd say are my favorites of those 6 standout shades. The gold is absolutely beautiful. It is a bright gold, and I don't have much of that in my collection. I would say these 2 shades are pretty ordinary. There's nothing super stellar about those. They are pretty. They pack a punch. They have very beautiful little glitters in them that stay in the formula. It's not like they fall out. They're very pretty. I do like them. It's nothing that I can't find in another palette. Now, taking you into this bronzy shade right here, the gold shade, and let's see, this shade right over here. These are, they're okay. They perform fine. They're that formula that's a little bit more, especially these 2 right here. They're that formula that's like a little bit dulled down. Remember that you would find in Too Faced that would be like a satiny type of shade, but then you'd put it on and you're like, it's not very bright. It's not very, I don't know how else to describe it to you except just a little bit dull. And so these are highly dupeable. I mean, usually I'm not opposed to having dupes in palettes. I'm like, I love this color story. I like how this works. I like how, but this is very, very dupeable. So that being said, I'm going to piggyback on that and say that this whole palette is incredibly dupeable. Like I said, most people are probably like really focused on this shade, and that's why a lot of people will purchase it. Yes, there's a mix of cool and warm tones in here, but for the formula and for the color story, you can 1000%, I guarantee you, dupe a lot of this palette, all of this palette, in what you already have in your collection. This one really didn't stand out to me as being a must-have. If I were to do it over again, I mean, I would have bought it to review it for you, but to do it over again, I don't know that I would have picked it up. It's not, hands down, I would choose Supreme Nudes over Supreme Bronze. This one really surprised me. Maybe my expectations were low. Maybe it's because it has a little bit of an olive type of tone in here. But this one, hands down, I like the performance better. I like the color story better. This one just does not speak to me even after having put it to use. In fact, I think it speaks to me less now than it did at the beginning. You can get a very beautiful look, and for my neutral ladies out there, this may be a go-to for you, but for me, it just kind of fell short of what I was hoping it would be in all aspects. Kind of, you know, just overall performance, again, color story, just there's so much in my collection 100 times over with this type of color story. So take that for what it's worth. I hope that it is in some way, shape, or form beneficial to you, for you to be able to make a decision. Don't let my comments sway you if you are super intent on buying it. You may say this is going to be the best palette ever for me. Go for it. But those are my opinions and how it worked for me. So with that, we will go ahead and conclude today's video. I just want to leave you with a very quick verse of the day in order to motivate you, encourage you, and tell you that Jesus loves you. Today's comes from 2 Samuel 22:31, and it says, "As for God, his way is perfect. The word of the Lord is flawless. He is a shield for all who take refuge in him." Alrighty, friends, well, I hope you're having a wonderful day. Thank you so much for stopping by and sticking this video out with me, for sitting down and chatting about makeup. I hope you have a great rest of your day. I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.